Hello my spooky fiends, my witches and my ghouls. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well and a big massive happy Halloween. I am filming this on Halloween. I don't know when you will see this, it probably won't be Halloween, but I am actually filming this on Halloween, so it's Halloween for me. But yeah, I am going with the whole Mia Wallace vibes. It's the only like Halloween-y outfit I can do that doesn't involve money. I don't have a fake cigarette, I don't have black hair, I don't actually have short hair, so I've had to wing it, and I don't have bangs, and obviously I'm wearing glasses, so this is my take to it. But yeah, today's video is my October wrap-up, so with further ado, let's get straight into the video and see what I read for October. So I read 31 books for October, and in hindsight, when you think of it like that, I've read a book a day, but that actually wasn't the case. I had a massive big TBR for October. It was huge, and I can tell you now, I didn't complete it. The start of October went well, and then it was like this, basically. It went yeah, that's what happened. I have done a video, whether it will be before this one or after this one, I'm not quite sure, but if it's before this, I will tag it into my description of the link for that video. If not, then it'll probably be after this video. But basically, I've done a quick video of a life update of things that have been going on, and it's sort of just changed certain things. Basically, there's a lot of personal stuff that kind of happened middle of October. Literally, you know when the saying goes, bad things come in threes. That certainly happened for us, and it literally spanned out within 3 days as well. And I was alright at the beginning, but I think for me, because sometimes I put things at the back of my head and try not to think of them until I really need to, occasionally that backfires and everything goes to pot. Ow. Everything goes to pot, and I then just have a really bad anxiety attack, to the point that it got really bad that it was about, I think, 20 to 1 one night. I was all on my own, and I literally had a massive big panic attack. Now, I do suffer with them, not as often as I used to. My last panic attack was when the UK went into the first lockdown, and purely I had a panic attack because I had a text message to say that I had to shield until I got a text to say I don't have to shield anymore. And on top of that, Alice was at her dad's, and pretty much from midnight that night, lockdown started, and my initial thing was, how do I get Alice back? If we're in lockdown, like, there's no way she would stay at her dad's for however long. And in hindsight, it was about 5-6 months we were in lockdown for the UK, and there was no way she could stay there. So my initial bit, then I had a humongous panic attack. I was hyperventilating, sorry, and all that, and it happened this time around. So it's probably been about a year and a half. I was hyperventilating, I couldn't breathe, my heart was going 10 to a dozen, I got really clammy, and my parents were like fast asleep. I couldn't wake them up, I couldn't even get out of bed because I was that bad. My daughter wasn't here, she was at dad's, but I was horrendous, and it took about a good hour for me to finally calm down. And then I started getting lots of mini panic attacks along that week, and it just really hit me that I need to really take time for myself. So all of that, I decided to just read what I could. I messaged people that I was on tours to say, this is going on, I can't read the books, I'm so sorry. So the remaining books that I had for tours, I didn't do. Thankfully they understood, but like the remaining books I had on my TBR, I just was like, nah, not gonna happen. I was meant to do 4 readathons, I only did 2 in the end. One of them, which was Stabathon, I completely failed. You've probably seen that vlog as well, it was a disaster. Speakathon I have completed-ish, but I will complete, so, but I actually don't know whether I submitted my last thing, and I don't know whether there's like, I have to submit it by today, and if so, oh, I don't know if I've submitted everything, but whatever, I'm not overly bothered so much. Anyway, so I managed to do some reading, but then I failed near the end. I didn't complete my TBR. I didn't even read my punishment book for September. Long story, oh, was it September, October, whatever. Long story cut short, I didn't complete it. I don't care. A lot's going on. I'm still struggling. We move. But 31 books is still blooming good. So we're going to just go through like lowest to highest rating. A lot of books are on my Kindle as well. So the first up, we've got 3.5 stars. So the first, which I'm going to do, was on my Kindle. It's called The Children of Moonstone Beach by FVC Miller, and it's like a middle grade book, and it's basically sort of a book about COVID, and it's just like these kids escape to this like certain place. They go to this beach, and in this beach they find like mythical things like mermaids, things like that, and it's sort of a story where how kids sort of cope with the pandemic. So it doesn't actually go fully into COVID and things like that, but you know it's happening, it's going on. I really liked it. It's just the wrong age for me. I think I've I think I've decided that middle grade is not my books. It's just, you know, I'm nearly 31 this year, like my birthday's in December. It's not my target audience. It's too young for me, and it's just a bit, I just don't really like the characters because they're just really young and naive, and it's just their worries are so stupid. But I understand back then, obviously, like kids these days, you know, their worries is completely different to what our worries are. Anyway, it was alright. It wasn't the right book for me. I really did like how like it showed how kids cope when stuff like that goes on, and it sort of made me think what my daughter's like with the pandemic, like what she sort of does to understand it. So in that sense, it's very thought-provoking, and it sort of makes you wonder what children, like where children are in regards to the pandemic and everything that's going on. So it does make you think, but it was just I was the wrong target audience for it. Like I think children for that particular age, you know, would really enjoy it. But like for me, I'm just too old for it, and I hate saying that because I don't want to be too old for something. But nevertheless, it was enjoyable. It's just it wasn't for me. Next up, I have a book that was for a tour, which is Secrets of Windward by Jack Reese. I had high hopes for this, and it was good. I don't know whether I had such high expectations for it that it didn't measure up to that, so it was like a flop for me. Like it was very atmospheric. There were moments where it was creepy. It just for me was so backwards and forwards, and I don't mind it when books do that, but I do like it when there's set like chapters and it gives you that you're like, you know, back in time, whichever character is that they're talking to. Like I prefer that because I understand it then, or I prefer it where it flows so well that you understand that's happening. But in this case, you know, you're reading a paragraph and then the next paragraph we're in the past and we're like speaking to completely different characters, and I'm like, who the hell are them? And like you don't get much of a backstory with all of them either. But basically we follow this massive big house. So I think it's called Windward House or Windward Mansion or something. Basically, the Lord family run it, and something happened, and it's all like, basically there's like a massive big, so there was a supposed wedding, there was a vampire that rised, a werewolf which escaped, and a witch's age or curse to rise again. Basically, something happens, and the person Simon, who, in the past, something happens to him and he goes in a coma, and his brother Joshua, who was younger but now is obviously older, decides to return to Windward with his young family and like sort it out and things like that. But his daughter Jenna realizes that there's something going on with his house and blah blah blah, and it's basically all this going on. It's certainly atmospheric. There was certainly some spooky moments, but it was just so all over the place. I was confused. We have a lot of characters, and for me, I just felt like if it was sort of like your only like acknowledgement to say that you're going into something different is this bit here, which is fine, but it just didn't flow. And like a lot of the time, I'm thinking, right, who are these characters? What are they? Blah blah blah, and it really did not flow for me, and I was quite disappointed with that because I really thought this was going to be 4 or 5 stars, but yeah, it wasn't, unfortunately. Now we're on to 4 stars, so I'm going to go through the Kindle books first because there's a few of them. I can't remember all of the books because, like I said, a lot's gone on and a lot of things have gone funk, so I will breeze through them. If they're ones that I remember I've got like some sort of thoughts to tell you, I will. If not, I'm sorry. First up is The Stars Among Us by Sajas S. Junjik. I'm sorry if I've pronounced that completely wrong. This is a romance. and it was really, really good. It's set in Croatia. There we are, I just remember it's set in Croatia. I really like that culture stuff because it's a place I've not really heard of in books, in my opinion. Like, I've not read any books that's set in Croatia and all that. It basically is, we follow this main character, I can't remember her name, but we follow a main female character who helps sort of in a production team of films, but she was getting a bit sick and tired of it. She had a nasty breakup with her boyfriend, who I think was emotionally abusive and cheating, stuff like that. So she decides to sort of run away in hindsight, and she decides that actually she wants to be an extra at one of her favourite books that's been adapted into a movie. So she ends up being an extra there, and she sort of takes a shining to two people. So one is the director. He sort of quite likes her, and they form quite a friendship. There's a bit of flirting, but it's clear that he likes her. At the time, I think she did quite like him back, but she was sort of a bit like, oh, you know, I'm an extra, blah blah blah. And then flows into like a little love triangle going on. A male actor comes in who's a big male actor, and basically it's a bloke she had a crush on through her teenage years, still does, and he's there actually working on the film. And basically there was a scene, he by accident hits her with his sword. It's not real, but it was solid enough that left her with a black eyes, a bump. She had concussion, and long story cut short, he feels really bad that he ends up going to see her at her flat. He brings food, and they sort of get on very well. He realizes that she had a massive crush on him, and a sort of relationship forms. So it's very steamy between these two, and I'm gonna be honest, he was not the love interest I wanted her to go with. I wanted her to go with the director. I just felt he was, you know, he was more committed. This actor, basically, you find out that he's actually got a arranged relationship with another actress, and not together, but basically for them to sort of still be in the limelight and all that, they've formed a fake relationship. So he's obviously in a relationship with this, our main character, but obviously this goes on, and he ends up getting called back to do all these things, and it ends up pretty much being like a little, like, it was a love triangle between them, and then this director came back in, and it became like a little square. I wasn't really, the only reason it didn't get the 5 stars for me was purely because I didn't like the love interest that ended up being together. They sort of, this one moment happens, basically he gets told that their ratings are going down, so the girl he's fake dating basically says, let's fake a proposal. So they faked a proposal, she then faked a pregnancy, and basically it was that they were going to have to get married, pretend that she's pregnant, and then obviously put out there to say it didn't happen and blah blah blah, or have children and then split up. And obviously the person, is our main character, is like, I am not standing for that. Like, you know, what about me? You want to be with me, you want to have a family with me, but you're doing it with someone else just to get your ratings up. So she ends up like, you know, runs off. She then starts a relationship with the director. Excuse me. And I was like, yes, I really like the director and all that. He proposes to her, they get ready for a wedding, but then she sees this actor again, like a couple of like months, or it might be a year later. It turns out that he didn't go through with everything. He tried to get back in contact with her, but he couldn't because she changed her number and all that. Long story cut short, she ends up going back with the actor, and they end up getting, either they're either engaged or they were getting married. I can't remember, or they were married now, I can't remember. It was just, it wasn't 5 stars for me, because I just did not like love interest. I thought she was better off the director. I thought the actor, she just gave him like way too many chances. So yeah, it was that. Next up we have Fated by Sarah Bigelow and Molly Zenk. So this is the 3rd book in the the Hunted series, sorry. So when I first read Hunted, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. And the 2nd book I gave 4 stars. I did enjoy it. It was just, I felt it could have been longer and had more like actiony stuff in it. And this one, it really disappointed me. Like, it didn't give me to be honest, I've been generous, because I think it would have personally been 3.5 stars, but I've been generous and gave 4 stars because going in the whole series, the 1st book I loved, the 2nd book was okay. This one, it was anticlimactic. Like, there was it is like a forbidden romance sort of thing. You've got a vampire and a vampire hunter who sort of fall in love. I liked that, and like the first book, there was so much like action between the vampires and vampire hunters, and I was expecting that again in this book because it's the last book of the series, and it had like the ultimate big war saving the world kind of thing, and it was just a complete flop. Like, one main character died, and I was like, what? That was like a shock, which I think gave the 4 stars for me. But like this massive big age-old vampire who pretty much has like killed absolutely everyone, blah blah blah, and he died like that so quickly, so like just like that. It was like boom, he's dead, and I thought, whoa, hold on, you've bigged him up to be really powerful, really manipulative, and all that, and he dies like instantly that fast. It really spoiled it for me. I thought, no, like, you know, I was expecting to have a massive big fight, big war scene, and it was so anticlimactic. So for me, I personally would have given 3.5, 3 star possibly, but I thought just because of the rest of the series I read, I have bumped it up higher because the first one was brilliant, the second one wasn't awful, I just wanted it to be longer. So yeah, a bit disappointed with that, but never mind. Next we have Hunt by Leona Deakin. I know this is a thriller. I can't remember what happened. This was one of those books that I had to read really, really quickly because I forgot I was on tour for it, and yeah. Next we have Conspiracy of Cats by B.C. Harris. Don't be fooled by the cover. This is a very sort of to do with a ghost. It's sort of a murder mystery trying to like find a killer of this ghost. We've got this African style magic. It's got like a lot of supernatural vibes to it. I didn't expect that going into the book, so that was very interesting and good. It just, there was a few moments where it lagged, it got a bit boring, and I got a little bit like, Next we have Bright Lights by A.A. Abbott. This is was done on audio, but I also did read along on my Kindle because it was a pre-order for me. So I pre-ordered the Kindle. Absolutely loved this, but definitely check the trigger warnings. There's a lot of triggering in there, and I kind of wish I knew there was that kind of triggering. I hate saying I enjoyed it because of the topics that were on there, but it was very good. I just felt the ending was rushed, and it just didn't sort of bring the story together. Like, it was so brilliant at the start. In the middle, it sort of dragged a little bit and got a bit too, like, get to the point sort of moment. And then the ending, like, it was obviously a massive big twist per se, but it was a flop. It wasn't like dramatic. It was just like mediocre. But it was good. It was very tough topics. Obviously, it's to do with paedophilia, about, you know, rape, things like that. So it is a tough book, but it was good. It was done very sensitive as well. But yeah, that's that. Next we have The Entrant by Rock Versberg, which is a sci-fi, but it's more of a racing sci-fi book. So I really enjoyed this. This surprised me because I thought, I'm not going to like it. It's sci-fi. I struggle with sci-fi. Like, I'm trying to get into it, but I'm failing. But because this subplot in this book was a racing and sort of like a bit of like drama going on as well, it actually was really good. And I breezed through this book. The literal prologue of this was smashing. It was a stunning prologue. I was like, ooh, this book is good. It did dwindle a little bit in the whole, it wasn't as brilliant as the prologue, but the racing scenes, like, it certainly gave you Formula 1 / Fast and Furious vibes, and I love Fast and Furious, so I was like, yeah, I'm here for it. Next we have Legends of Lightning, which is book 1 in the series by T.R. Sloth. Not gonna lie, I can't remember what happened in this book. I read it quite early on, so I can't really remember like what it's about. I think it was, no, honestly, it's gone out my window. Yeah, like I said, a lot's going on. Next we have The Midnight Man by Caroline Mitchell, which is on audio as well. The audio book is so atmospheric, guys. Like, the music in the background really gives you the creep factor. The prologue and like the first like part of the book was brilliant. It was stunning. It was atmospheric. I was like, oh my god, I am going to be freaked out. And then that was it. It was sort of that bit, and then the rest of the story, it wasn't as creepy or atmospheric. Like, the music gave you the creepiness. If the music wasn't on the audiobook, I don't think it would give you creepy vibes. But basically, it's sort of like there's this haunted mansion, and you play a Midnight Man game, and you have to last like 24 hours and for him not to catch you. And these group of kids do, and one girl goes missing and is found dead, and it's then trying to find out what happened. And then one of the other girls then gets attacked, and then another girl then goes missing. And alongside that, we have a main character who's a detective called Sarah. She's been on leave for mental health problems. She comes back and she wants to go straight into her detective work, but they're putting her on the sideline saying, no, you just need to do like taking statements. So she goes and takes statements. She meets one of her old school friends, and they sort of requinish, is that a word? Whatever, their friendship. And she meets this other person's son called Elliot, and Elliot basically is sort of psychic in some ways. He gets plagued with nightmares, but basically he sees the Midnight Man, and he basically says the angel is dead, and he ends up telling Sarah where she is, blah blah blah. But on top of that, it turns out that Sarah actually is very linked to this haunted mansion, because 25 years previous, her whole family got murdered supposedly by her father, and she was the only one who managed to escape. And not, well, she didn't escape, someone shot her, but they missed basically, so they didn't kill her. But so she decided to pretend that she was dead. So like her grandparents knew, so she covered up to say she was dead, changed her name and all that. Only a handful of people know. So that's going on, and in the end she has to go and play the Midnight Man game, because the Midnight Man says that she needs to die, he won't kill anyone else. And the twist of who the Midnight Man was, did not expect at all. Fantastic. And same with the twist of actually who really killed her family, because it was supposed to be her father, but it wasn't. But it ended in such a cliffhanger. It's like, is there going to be another book? Because it ends in a way where basically everything all sort of ties up together, and she goes to knock down her old mansion, because it's been under her name, but she's been keeping it because she doesn't know what to do with it. And the demolishers and the people there said, we can't do it, we've been told we're not allowed to. And so it basically ends saying whatever the mansion's called, I can't remember what it's called, hasn't ended with her. And it ends in a way that there's going to be a different book, like another book. It was really good. It was very atmospheric at times, but I really expected it to be very spooky. Like, it suggested the sort of like, some of the things was like an occult horror. To me, it was more psychological thriller with some spooky vibes in it. There was just moments where it felt flat, and I could have done with more spookiness, if I'm going to be totally honest. Which, for someone who isn't big on horror, clearly she's liking horror these days. Anyway, next up is the 4 stars in books. So I read You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes, which is the 3rd book in the You series. So I read You and Hidden Bodies in 2019. So it was before I had, obviously, Bookstagram and Booktube. I absolutely loved You. Hidden Bodies, I was a bit at. List is certainly, to me, better than Hidden Bodies. However, it's not the 5 stars vibes that what You gave me. So there's not much killing in here. So if you know the You series, you know we have Joe Goldberg, and in the first book, he basically kills about 3 main characters in the book. In Hidden Bodies, he meets love, and he sort of kills some people in between it, but he doesn't want to. And at the end of Hidden Bodies, he gets arrested for these murders, but he is still involved with love. He finds out that Love's pregnant and all that. In this, it sort of carries on from there in some sense. So Love and her family basically pay him off to leave and never be involved with his child. So he does that, but he's also trying to get his child back. He then meets this person called Mary Kay, who runs a library, and obviously if you know who Joe Goldberg is, he gets smitten very quickly and all that. So in this book, he actually doesn't want to kill anyone. He doesn't want to kill anyone. He wants to actually prove that he's worthy of love and blah blah blah. And so in hindsight, you don't actually have him killing people. He does get one main character, or side character I should say, in his cage, but he never actually kills her. She does something to herself, and then another person actually tries to kill him, but someone who's involved with Love, and now obviously Joe, kills this person. So he never actually kills anyone. However, you get his inner dialogue as well, so you get his point of view, and then you get his inner dialogue where he's trying his damn hardest not to kill anyone, not to like wipe out people that are getting in his way with his sort of relationship with Mary Kay. So it's very good in that sense. I love that side of things, but I could not stand Mary Kay. I could not stand her. Did not care for her. And a lot of the characters who did die in this book, not by Joe's hands, but who did die, I was like, in all fairness, they deserve to die, and if Joe killed them, I wouldn't care. It's just one of those books where you genuinely like the serial killer. He's a psychopath, he's a serial killer, but you can't help root for him. This ends in a cliffhanger, and it is revealed that there's going to be a book 4 and a series 4 as well. Now, I haven't watched the 3rd season of You yet. I am planning to. I have watched the first episode though, but I do know it's completely different to the books, as I expected. So You, this first season, was exactly like the books. Hidden Bodies and You 2, completely different, nothing like what happens in the book. And the book for this to season 3, I've heard it's not the same either. So definitely make a decision. Like, the books aren't the same as the TV series, so if you don't want to read the books, watch the TV series because they're completely different books. If you want to do books, you will obviously know that it's completely different. But yeah, really good, but I do love the first book the most. Then my book club, we read The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I had high hopes for this. I thought this was going to be really, really scary from what some people said. It wasn't scary enough for me. It was certainly more a thriller. It was certainly a like mystery of finding out what went on with her aunt, and obviously there were some other killings of these women. There is a massive big twist in this which I did not expect, and then we have a little bit more of a twist. Love that. I just wanted it to be more spooky. Like, the little spooky elements in this book I loved, and I had goosebumps over it, but I wanted more, and I didn't get more, which is disappointing. But nevertheless, it was a really good book. Next we have Dead Leaves, which is 9 Tales from the Witching Season, which is by Keenan Patrick Burke. This was really good. There was a couple of short stories in there that I absolutely loved and really enjoyed. There was others that were a bit bizarre and not as creepy. The first book on here, Andromeda it's called, when I first read it, like, I was so confused, like I didn't understand it, and then we got near to like the last little bit of the actual story itself, it got really creepy and it ended in such a cliffhanger. I was like, what? You can't do that to me. Like, I need to know what happened. And yeah, that was actually surprisingly, like, the end. I was just like, no. There was like other ones. There was, hang on, where is, let me go in the there was one which was sort of about a woman that sounds like a ghost, and it was like their narrative and then her narrative. That was quite spooky and bizarre, and it was sort of one of those ones that made you really think. There was one that I really did not like. Might be either The Toll or You Tell Him I Died Quietly. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. No, not that one. Okay, yeah, I think it's, yeah, The Toll. This was about like a really rich, nasty bloke found in a coffin. It turned out to be one of his ex-wives was killing him, but I didn't particularly like that one so much. I really did not care for the character, and he deserved everything he got. But yeah, read that. It's quite interesting. Then I read Butterfly Assassins, The Wi-Fi of Dreams Book 2 by Steve Walsh, and this carries on from the first book I read the previous month. This was really good. It answered a lot of questions that I had in the first book, but there were times where I got a little bit confused, and a lot of times I also felt it was a bit long-winded. But it was really nice to sort of get a bit more backstory of the market, also to understand like the two main characters, but also this one side character which we actually got more of in this book, which I really liked. And it was sort of the lead up to her accident and how she got out of this particular coma and all that. So yeah, this was good. It's just, I kind of felt it could have been a little bit shorter. Then we have The Perfume Thief by Timothy Shaffert. This was so interesting and really surprisingly good. So it sort of is basically so it starts off in 1930 in Paris, and then we're in 1941, and basically it's about this woman who was a con artist, and she's retired, but she ends up getting sort of back into the con artist game by this person, like this cabaret singer called Zoe St. Angel. She recruits Clementine, who is 72 years old, and she wants her to find this famous Parisian perfumer who's now missing. So she sort of does this con and all that, but I absolutely love it. It's sort of like this, you know, an older character. She's a con artist. Like, the talks about perfume, I genuinely felt like I can smell the perfume from the book. It was surprisingly good. It's a historical fiction, and I'm very in and out with it. Like, I like historical romance, but historical fiction per se isn't always for me. I don't mind books about war and stuff like that because it is quite interesting and really captivating. But this, like, I have a soft spot for con artists. I really think they're interesting. So this was surprisingly good, and definitely recommend this. Then we have the marvellous Mirza Girls by Sheba Karim. I was kindly gifted this by Harper 360, but I was also on tour for this. This was really good. It was sort of a coming of age story. It had a bit of romance, but it was obviously focused on our main character. I can't remember her name now. Noreen, whose aunt dies, and it's just like her way of dealing with grief. It was sort of, I quite liked, it sort of gave me Gilmore Girls vibe at the start, like with her and her mum. But then as you get into the second part of the book where they go back to India, it doesn't really focus so much on their relationship then. Like, the cultural side of things was really good. Like, I really learned a lot about India as a particular place that's obviously a bit more poor. I really liked the romance and how the love interest, how he helped her with her grief and then she ended up having to help him, so roles were reversed. I really liked that. There was something missing. I don't know what, but there was something missing about this book that didn't give me the 5-star vibes. But it was very emotional. There were some bits that got me a bit welled up in that. But yeah, it was really good, and I absolutely love this cover. It is stunning. Then we have this chunky book by Susan Lewis, I Have Something to Tell You. I've read a couple of her books. This one wasn't one of my favourites. So basically, we follow a high-flying lawyer called Jessica Wells, who has been put on this bloke called Edward Blake's case because he supposedly murdered his wife, and it's all looking like he's a suspect. There's no one else, blah blah blah. But when she meets Edward, Jessica's sort of, well, she calls herself Jay, but Jay sort of thinks that he's protecting someone. So it's sort of that. I really like the police procedural part. You are very much focusing into like the police interviews, which I really liked. I quite liked like actually learning that, like having that story rather than the murder itself and like the police trying to catch the murderer kind of sense. I just did not really care for the cheating. I did not really care for, there was this one part where she becomes involved with her client, which is Edward, and I was like, there's certain bits I'm thinking that would not happen in real life. There were just a lot of moments where I was like, that wouldn't happen in real life, like this is just stupid. And with that, I couldn't give it 5 stars. Like, there was a big massive twist and I did not expect that at all. Like, I really did not expect the person who did it. There were just certain, sunshine in my eyes, there was just certain bits where I thought that would not happen in real life, so why are you putting it in a book? Like, make it feel real. So yeah, not one of my favourite books by her, but still enjoyable, and I still think a lot of people who like their thrillers will enjoy that. Then we're on to 5 stars, so quickly flying through them because I can't remember a lot of these. First up is Land on Me by Matthew R. Cole, which is a male-male romance. This was very, very, very good. It was emotional. It certainly was about homophobia, like coming out and being true to yourself, and it was quite a tough read, but very much needed. And I honestly think a lot of gay people in the LGBTQI community will really, really respect and appreciate this book. You know, I got quite emotional in this book. There was certainly some suicide moments or mental health moments in here. It was just so well done, and I just really liked the character building. The 2 main love interests were just lovely, and it's sort of one of those books you just can't help root for. I just think it's a very important book for people to read. Next up is The Younglings, which is book 1 in a series by Helen M. Craggs. I think I said that right. Loved this book. It's to do with a half demon, half human, half angel, half human, and it's sort of they sort of are friends and they find out who they really are and they sort of form a team. The main character, I've forgotten his name, but the main male character, he finds out his dad's a demon, and obviously this is a series, but I kind of have a suspicion that his dad is actually the proper prince, you know, of hell, like, you know, the big man. I won't go, do you know, I'm not going to go into this book because it's so spoilery, but I genuinely recommend this to anyone who loves their supernatural books. This is certainly a team of like different people. There's ghosts, there's you know, half demons, half angels. We've got a witch. We've even got someone who is just a normal mundane. It sort of gave me Shadowhunter series vibes. I just loved it, and obviously we've got a little bit of romance going on here, and yeah, honestly, love this book. I highly recommend. Definitely want to continue reading this series. I'm not sure whether the actual second book's out yet or not. I'm going to have to check. But yeah, this is a series I definitely want to continue because I thoroughly enjoyed. Next we have Amongst the Mists by, is it M.L. Rayner? I can't even read my own writing. This was very atmospheric and spooky, very good, very twisty and turny. It sort of gave me sort of fairy tale retelling kind of vibes, like grim tale sort of vibes. Really, really good. Like, honestly, recommend. It will certainly give you goosebumps and hairs standing up on your arms kind of vibe. Then we have Hellslay by DC Brockwell, which was part of a Shocktober tour I was on, but unfortunately I never managed to continue with it because of everything that was going on. But this was honestly fantastic and my favourite book, like, out of the tours that I've done. Like, so atmospheric, so flipping creepy. It's to do with a haunted asylum. Like, I'm obsessed with reading a book about asylums, especially haunted ones. It was freaky, it was spooky, it was gory as hell, and it ended in a way where I genuinely want to know what happened to this asylum, whether it got knocked down or not. Like, yeah, absolutely loved it. You had some characters that you really didn't like and you couldn't quite care less about what happened to them. You have others that are thinking, no, like, there was one point I shouted at this book. There was this one character that was a side character, and she sort of was mentioned throughout the book, and she sort of had a play in this book, and she bloody got killed. I was not expecting that. I was fuming when that happened. But yeah, absolutely love this book. My favourite tour book of this month, and I highly recommend if you like your ghost stories, your haunted asylums, and for characters that you can love and hate. So yeah, now on to the books, which I'm going to fly through because I need to go and sort things out for Halloween. But quickly, The Big Book of Belonging by Yuval Zoma. I was on a read-along with Tandem Collective, and this was like a sort of very more like child-related one. Absolutely loved this. I really loved doing this with my daughter herself and just doing some fun activities. Be Drag Fabulous, How to Live Your Best Drag Queen Life, which is illustrated by Katie Mockridge. This is fantastic. It is absolutely beautifully illustrated, and it's just little like life affirmations. It's about confidence, self-help, makeup, fashion, just all these little things. It's a little pocket book. It's brilliant. I just love this. I love the illustrations as well. It's so stunning. I read Fangs by Sarah Anderson, which is a graphic novel. It's a romance between a vampire and a werewolf. Loved this. It was cute. It was sweet. I liked some of the humour in it. It was a fun time. It was a very quick hour, but it was fun. I then read Suffering by Rin Shepeko, which is the second book in the Girl from the Well series. So it's just book 1 and book 2. Love this. Like, I loved The Girl from the Well. Like, that was 5 stars. This was like 5 stars times a million. This was just fantastic. There was more Japanese culture in this, which I loved. It was more ghost stories than the first book. Like, this was just fantastic. It was so atmospheric. I had to stop reading this during the night at one point because I was getting a bit too creeped out. It's just, it's just brilliant. Like, I like Rin Shepeko as an author. I certainly want to read some more of her other books that she has out. Like, I know she's got a fantasy series, The Bone Witch, which I would like to read, but she's certainly become a favourite author, and certainly I think going to be an auto-buyer. But I would love it if she did more of these books because it was brilliant. Oh no, I dropped it. Next is The Invisible Thread by Sophie Lazel. So this is a book about grief and how to... It's a book about grief and loss. It's about this girl called Stella, who died, and it's just about this family, and basically something happens to Stella's brother, and it's sort of helping her family sort of get out of their depression kind of thing and sort of be a family again and all that. This is sad. This is such a sad book. It's about grief. It's also about mental health. There's obviously suicide involved in this. I actually genuinely felt this book was about this dog because we got a dog here and I thought it was about like a dog, and that it's not. It's actually about a daughter who died, and it's like the story of that and her trying to help her family before she crosses over, kind of thing. Honestly, I recommend this. Just have tissues at the ready because it's quite sad. Then I read There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. Loved this book. The perfect slasher book going. It's quick, it's to the point, it's gory as anything. Like, honestly, let me see if I can find this one bit. Where is it? There is this one bit and it's just... bleh. Okay. The last thing he saw was an arm splattered with his own blood, as the sawtooth edge of a large hunting knife carved around the circumference of his head. With a squelch that signalled the release of suction, it popped open like the lid of a jack-o'-lantern. His brain was slashed into mush, and then the top was placed back on, nice and tidy. Like, it gets worse in this book, but, like, it's just gory as hell. It was so good. I did, as I got into this book, I had my suspicions. I wasn't correct, but I was close. I certainly didn't, get the why they were doing this, but yeah, love this book. I actually have the TV movie, like the movie adaptation, on my wish list to watch, so definitely will be watching that soon because I want to see how it compares to the book. Next, I read Pumpkin Heads by Rainbow Rowell and also Faith Erin Hicks. This is a graphic novel, all to do with like these two people. Do you know what? I think everyone's read this. Everyone loved this. I just think it's so good. It was cheesy. It was so yummy. Like, honestly, this book made me hungry, but it was just the perfect fall autumnal book. I loved I loved it. I loved everything about this book, and the ending, it was just so good. Next, I read The Maid by Nita Prose. This isn't out until January 2022. I've got an ARC. I did this as another read along with Tandem Collector. You Love Me was also a read along with Tandem Collector, the same as The Midnight Man was a listen along with Tandem Collective. I did a lot this month with Tandem Collective. This, when I started reading it, I wasn't sure because I really wasn't vibing with the main character Molly. But as I got into the book, her character grew on me, and oh my god, this was just brilliant. I didn't expect the twists and turns, and just what happened at the end completely shocked me. Honestly, this is a book you all need to read in 2022, and if you don't, why? Waterstones, I will add on here what it looks like. Waterstones has got an absolute beautiful edition of this book, which I recommend you getting. But honestly, fantastic book. Check my Bookstagram out because there will be a review with like my thoughts on there. Next, Clown in the Cornfield by Adam Cesare. I am halfway through. I need to finish this, but I am planning to finish this in the next couple of days. So I'm adding on this because I will certainly finish this the next few days from today. So it won't take me long. Loving this. It's a slasher. It's gory. It's funny at times. It's just, I obviously like my slashers. It's just really brilliant. And then next that I need to finish is Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I'm currently on page 527. I literally have that much left. Apparently on my audiobook I've got 4 hours left, but I actually think it's less because I don't think I've caught up to what I have recently read. But honestly, I'm loving this. I know this is going to be 5 stars because I'm loving it so much. But yeah, I need to finish this. So again, I'll be finishing this in the next couple of days. But yeah, that is the books. November's TBR is going to be completely different, but I will go into that when I do it. But yeah, thank you for watching. If any of these books you've read, let me know your thoughts, or if any of these books sound like something you want to read, let me know and I can give you more background on it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.